Is there action that the commission wishes to take with respect to this resolution?
Move we accept resolution 2019-17.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And moving on to resolution 2019-18, are we still needing to wait on?
No, we should be good. TVs are up.
Okay, great, thank you. Resolution 2019-18, a resolution approving an application for property tax deductions for certain real and personal property located within the Worsfield Road Economic Development Area, Lions Head Precision Metals LLC. Good evening.
Good evening. Here's the funniest part of it is when I try to operate the technology. We'll see if-
We're in the same boat. You're in the same boat as I am.
All right. I'm gonna treat myself to dessert on the way home, I think. Are we good on the technology? Okay. Good afternoon, or almost evening, I guess. I'm Katie Kalb with KSM Location Advisors, and I appreciate the opportunity to be before you again this evening. I'm here today with Brian Smith, who is the president of Lions Head Precision Metals. And we're here today, as I know you're well aware, of the whole process with tax abatement. We've submitted an application to the city for a 10-year real and personal property tax abatement. And so as the first part of the process, we wanted to introduce the project to you and explain a little bit about the company and see if we can answer any questions and request your support. So I'm going to start by turning it over to Brian to talk a little bit about what you're probably most interested in, which is what the company does and where they're laid out, and then I'll conclude with some additional project scope details.
Okay.
So
Thank
I'll
you,
turn it over to you, Brian, and that's the, just use the arrow to, yeah.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to talk about Lions Head Precision Metals. We're actually excited about the potential opportunity to potentially reside in Greenwood. We're in our 56th year, and the company's always been privately held since 1963. We're the third ownership group. Lions Head purchased the company 3 years ago, approximately, from Ernie Huber. It used to be IMC Corp, and we're located in Beech Grove, right along 465, just before you get to 65. So we're currently headquartered locally. We like to consider ourselves one of the leading precision metal manufacturers in Indiana and Midwest. We service a lion's share of our business around Indianapolis, about 50%. The other 50% is in Kentucky, so this is a prime location for us. One of our biggest customers is GE Appliance. The other thing that attracts us to Greenwood is two of our biggest customers actually reside in Greenwood, and I'm sure you're familiar with Advantage Engineering or Andrews Hauser, so it would be advantageous for us to be closer to those customers as well. We offer a diverse range of services for a diverse group of customers. You know, Andrews Hauser is in gas and water engineering aspects, Advantage Engineering, water chillers, GE Appliance. We get into communications, electronics, a whole host of different customer bases. We're known for our engineering expertise with respect to manufacturing sheet metal products. So specifically, a lot of it revolves around stainless steel, but we do carbon steel, galvanized, aluminum, brass, whatever it may be. We're also ISO 9001 certified. We have been for almost 20 years. Since Lions Head has purchased the company, we've seen 20% growth. My partner and I, Gary Graham, we have a long-term investment horizon. IMC Corporation had pretty much been a stable $9 million company. This year we're going to finish close to $12 million. We've invested $3.5 million in capital equipment to allow this growth to occur. We anticipate investing $1 million at least year over year in capital expenditures in order to grow this company to a $20, $25, $30 million company. We actually have an exciting project for a sister company that we may be bringing the product back from China, targeting 2021, and actually that capital investment would actually be put in place in the new building. It'd be the first equipment installed there potentially, depending on timing, if that were so to all these steps were to happen, and that would be a $2 million investment come to Greenwood? Well, one, we've been searching around this area for the last 3 years. Our lease expires in 2 years. And the piece of property that we actually identified is this trapezoidal piece in yellow there. I don't think it was actually advertised for sale. We actually pursued it because we noticed it. And it being on I-65 main corridor between Kentucky and what we're doing in Indianapolis, we thought this would be a great location. We've since entered into a purchase agreement, and we've developed this basic site plan to the right. And you'll notice that what we're targeting is, if this whole process goes through, is that the parking will start at the south end, and then the initial building phase will also start on the north end, or the south end, with eventual expansion to the north. So that's kind of how we're looking at it. And then in the southwest corner, I don't know if you can see that, but the corporate offices protrude out from the southwest corner, so be very visible, at least the office facade coming from the south. And this is a current rendering. This is what we believe the building will look like aesthetically from the exterior. We're still playing with some of the elevation with respect to the office and how the workflow would happen on the inside, so that may change a little bit, but the basic coloring scheme and all of that we're pretty set on. We still need to go through tech review and all of that as part of the process, but this is where we think we're going to end up with respect to the building. So we think it's a good addition to that complex and the industrial park in that area. We hope that everybody is in agreement that Lionshead would be a good asset to Greenwood, and we look forward to the opportunity. Okay, take over.
Thank you.
Brian. I appreciate that overview, far more compelling than anything than the details I'll be going through, but certainly I've been before this group and the full council enough to hear a lot about some of the direction and goals and vision for the type of economic development here in Greenwood. And Lionshead seems to, certainly from my perspective, meet a lot of those criteria that I've heard over the years. As Brian mentioned, we have been working with them for a long time, looking at a variety of locations, and this is the favored one, pending successful resolution of a couple items. There's some planning permit reviews, and then of course the tax abatement is an important component of the financial equation. So the growth has been exciting, the ownership has been proven, and the relocation here kind of speaks to an opportunity to position them as a corporate headquarters here with skilled positions that would enable them to grow further. Brian mentioned a couple phases of development. What we've contained in the information in your packets with the SB1 and the abatement application contain kind of the conservative estimate of what they know for sure that they can commit to in terms of capital investment, job creation, and wages. So as he mentioned, it's about 117,000 square foot building, a little over $10 million with room for expansion on that site. So that would be additional stages of investment. Looking at a little over $5 million for new equipment, and then relocating 83 skilled jobs and creating about 28 new jobs. And the wages for these jobs are over $20 an hour, exclusive of benefits, which are also offered. And the expected to grow over time. There would be some relocation of jobs, but again, there would be new jobs created here as well, and they're skilled positions. We've listed on this slide here a couple of the types of positions, and after a probationary period, as I mentioned, benefits are available for those positions and pretty robust benefit package. Something that might be, and I think probably is of interest, is that Lionshead is a strong supporter and user of the Central 9 Career Center. Actually, the former owner was in the first graduating class, and about 10% of current employees attended or currently attend the Central 9 Career Center. So there's an opportunity to explore a paid internship opportunity, and national certifications are available through this program. So it's a great example of a community workforce development resource that is being fully optimized, I think, with Lionshead, and I think we can expect with closer proximity even for that relationship to continue to grow. I know this is a financial decision at the end of the day for this group and for the council. And so, as I mentioned at the beginning, part of the successful equation to make this project come to fruition here in Greenwood would be support for a 10-year real and personal property tax abatement. I know this group is well aware, but for those folks watching at home, I always feel compelled to remind that tax abatement, even though it sounds like a complete holiday from taxes, is actually a phase-in of tax liability over time. So no, you're just getting the land taxes right now. If the building comes and locates here and the equipment is installed, even with abatement, Greenwood and the county will continue each year to receive greater and greater amounts of property tax revenue on the real and personal side. And over the life of the abatement term, we are estimating, based on current tax rates, that almost $1.2 million in real property taxes would be paid. And then after the abatement ends, the revenue would be almost $234,000 each year once the abatement is fully burned off. And then on the personal property side, that number is about $650,000 in revenue, even with the abatement. And then at the end of the abatement, it'd be roughly $95,000 a year. And that, of course, you know, with personal property abatement, that takes depreciation schedules and such into account. So with that, we would very much love to receive your support for this project. We know that's an important part of moving from here onto the full council. And I think, you know, the type of employer that it is, the community partnerships, the year-over-year growth for almost 60 years, the types of jobs, the skilled trade laborers, and corporate headquarters that would be located along this corridor, but also play to the strengths of the manufacturing and production talent in this area, seems to be a really great fit with the community. And then, of course, on the dollar side, there's still a positive ROI for the city and for the county. So with that, I will stop talking and open it up for any questions you may have of me or of Mr. Smith, and certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Questions for Katie or Brian? Mr. Watson, you generally have some information you want to nail down for
As
us?
you may remember, or may not remember, we like to ask for a firm commitment on the completion in particular, also start as well, if that can be provided. And you provided it in the application, the projected construction start date of the first quarter of 2020, and then projected startup date for operation the first quarter of 2021. The SB1, your projected or estimated completion, I think, was the end of 2023. Can you provide any firm commitment on either of those dates?
Sure, it's a great question, and what we have found, and kind of some of the guidance we've gotten from the department, local government, finance at the state, even though they never give you, you know, firm direction with complete authority, is to time the completion date to when we think those jobs would be created. So obviously, once the building is open, those folks would relocate right away. But when we speak to those 20-some positions that would be created, that completion date on the SB1 kind of reflects when we think we'd achieve that headcount growth. But the dates you reference in terms of capital investment completion and opening of the facility are correct. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. We're most concerned about the construction aspect of things, based on a experience that took place. That's why we asked for the firm commitment.
Sure.
That experience took place several years ago now, but just to make sure that the city is not in a position where a project is half completed and
Sure.
just languishes. And so we like to, when we can, get a firm completion of construction date in particular.
Well, one way we could approach that is we could amend the SB1 to have a firm completion date on the construction, but then the job creation number would shrink because we'd be dealing with the relocated positions.
And maybe this might help. We're not asking you to revise
Okay,
anything
gotcha.
in your document, but if you can, at least on the record, make a commitment to, and it doesn't have to be aggressive, be as conservative as you feel like you need to be, but something that the city can feel confident that you're committing to
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem, at least from our perspective on the commitment on the timeline, other than plus or minus a couple months with respect to our lease ends in our current facility, 2021. We have some major equipment that has to be moved. As an example, a laser takes 2 weeks to tear it down, 2 weeks to put it back up. You know, so the building may be available, say April 21. It may take us 4 months to completely transition every machine without jeopardizing customers and all that. We may be operating out of Beach Grove and our new location simultaneous for a couple months as we transition pieces of equipment at a time. But our full intent is to try and be done by mid 21 with like a 6-month contingency that if something happens where we have to delay, we're not impacting the lease. We don't really want to carry on the lease and have the new building sitting at the same time any longer than possible. So we're committed to that lease till the end of 21. Even if we move out early, we have to make the landlord whole. So we want to be completed regardless in 21.
So maybe adding in contingencies early 2022 would be the latest that they would be kind of fully
The
operational.
intent is to be moving in the second quarter, building be done and transitioning into the new building.
Was that what their SB1?
Their SB1 says 2023 because they were anticipating
That's the
job.
including all the jobs.
Right.
Go ahead.
But the construction, you would be comfortable by mid 2022?
Sounds like the end of the first quarter of 2022, from what I heard you say. Maybe that's even further out than what
All
you feel like
construction
you
should
need.
be done, you know, end of first, beginning second quarter of 21. Because we have to transition into the building before the end of 21 to not have to request an extension of lease, which is going to have penalties and all this other stuff. So our full intent is to be in the building up and operational in 21.
Maybe the end of 21.
End of 2021 would be a commitment that you can make to Smith?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for doing that. Okay. Other questions for Mr. Smith and Ms. Coleman?
Just a note on the SB1, and I know in your presentation, you say you're moving 83 existing employees here and adding 28 new employees, which totals 111. This might come up at the council when this comes before them, but on your SB1, it says there's current employees 0, number retained 0, and additional employees 111. If you're going to make the same presentation for the council, it might be good if the SB1 reflected that.
We'll modify the presentation. We've been instructed that since the jobs, even though the ones are being relocated, they would be new to Greenwood, so they'll.
Well, maybe just that explanation
Yeah,
would.
I think that makes,
would be
I
fine.
appreciate
Okay.
that. We'll
Right.
modify the presentation to make it more
Okay.
clear. Thank you.
And your, just so you know, your start date is January of 2020, so that's in 2 months. So you might want to, I don't know if you need to revise that or not, but
Well, that would be the earliest. We always try to err a couple months either way. So assuming that we make success, you know, they close on the ground, and it's not that maybe there's steel going up, but they might start doing some prep work. And so, thank you. I'll clarify that as well.
Other questions? Seeing none, is there action you wish to take with respect to resolution 2019-18?
make a motion to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Campbell, Mr. Hopper, may I put you as sponsors? Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to Riverfront District application, Grafton Peak. Mr. West?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Got Greg Ginrich with me. He's taking care of the legal aspect of the licensing itself through the state and all of that. So, happy to be here this evening. I understand we're the first riverfront license that's applied. It's fantastic. What questions can I answer for you this evening?
Well, just tell us, Mr. West, what you're thinking about doing, and I think we've all reviewed the application and have a pretty good idea. Why don't you give us an overview?
Very good. So, kind of a fun little additional, it's a private setting, but our cakery and our kitchens are located at 410 East Main Street. In our cakery area, we can do seating for 20 26, maybe even push it to 30, and have small groups in which we were going to have some fun with, doing like a wine and cupcakes kind of an evening, mixing it up a little bit as well. Because we cater, we'll have some like food items as well, and we'll have small groups really directed more towards ladies, but certainly active friend groups and all of that, and essentially have private evenings where we allow at a ticketed rate so many guests to come in, and we decorate cakes and we give them some tips on torting and things of that nature. Stuff that I personally don't do, but certainly our cake decorators.
On torting?
And on torting. So that's the Queen's favorite cake, right?
Tort was illegal.
Yes, torting, not torts in the court of law. But we have a lot of fun with it. Many of you have probably had our catering, Grafton Peak Catering. We've been, my wife and I have owned the ballroom since early 2000s, and we've been catering heavily in the area. Since then, we do a lot at the Nest. We do the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, which has probably been at the last couple of years. And we do a lot of Bar and a Bay Horse, certainly at our ballroom, which is on the corner just across the street, the northeast corner of Madison and Maine. So we're just excited to be expanding that. Being a catering operation, we've always got some fun things to do. We're actually opening the Catered Cabaret this coming week. So if you remember the Catered Cabaret that was briefly opened off Madison, that has now been financed by the Reinhardt family. And so that's another part of what we're up to. So all of it kind of blends together. But in this case, we're just excited to have an opportunity to do this wine and cupcakes type arrangement and get that off the ground.
Let me make sure, is the cakery in the same building as the ballroom area?
No,
Or is it
the
on south side?
ballroom's actually located right here on the corner. The cakery and our kitchens, as well as our production facilities for our Hartwell's Premium Dressings, are all about a half mile east at 410 East Main. So if you can recall where Tillman's is,
Yes.
it's kind of kitty corner there, just a speck to the east. We own that car lot, and Tillman's leases that from us. So our complex there is where we do all of our catering for venues all around town, and of course the ballroom as well. The cakery is in front, takes up the front 400 and some odd square feet of that space. So it's unique. We've done some fun things. We've got a really cool Christmas cupcakes decorating thing for family and kids coming up, and we found that it's just a neat little space, and there's a little niche there, and we have some great people, in particular Julie Wells, who will kind of oversee that, and she's just a great person. I mean, it'll be something unique, something different, and something I think will be profitable for us to do 12 to 15 times a year or more and expand on that business.
We share that hope.
Yeah.
Questions for Mr. Gingrich or for Mr. West? Mr. Watson, what action do you think we need to take? Approving the application, or is it just a receipt of that application?
Well, I'm going to see if, Sam, do you happen to have any insights on what approval, if any, that the redevelopment commission has to provide on this?
Just an oral resolution will be fine, we will affect it in the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if you heard what Mr. Hodson said, he would suggest that we are accepting of this proposal, that we would have a resolution accepting the application for the Grafton Peak Inc. as Mr. West has presented. Is there such a?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have our first accepted application.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
That's great. Well, we're excited to be the first, and I'm sure the first in a long line over the next 5 or 7 years.
we hope
We're
so.
excited. Yeah.
Hope you have a lot of neighbors down there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate it very much and look forward to seeing everyone at the next prayer breakfast or at the cabaret or somewhere real soon. Chamber event or what have you.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Good to see you.
Have a great evening.
Next on our agenda is resolution number 2019-19, a resolution declaring an intent to reimburse the city of Greenwood for expenditures of the city for the construction of a new access road to New City Park property and proposed development on Clark Pleasant School Corporation property near Sheik Road and Worstville Road and I-65. Mr. Reich, how are you, sir?
Doing well. So this is the park property that is along the interstate that will be eventually a ballpark with, I believe it's 8 ball diamonds total, tournament style ball diamonds. We have entered into an interlocal agreement with Clark Pleasant Schools and then also into an agreement with Harvest Baptist Bible Church to,
Nice
job,
Hope it's
Rob.
not, hope it's not a comment on our activities here.
This is a backroom deal in the dark.
turn off the lights in the other room.
Thanks, Joe.
So the agreement we entered into was to allow us to utilize the road that Clark Pleasant is building for their new school back there, as well as the parking lot that the church is putting in, rather than us having to put a parking lot and a road of our own in for that property. So that gives us more room for the actual park activities. In that, this park is right in the Worstville Road TIF area. We would like to pay for it with that money. However, that TIF area isn't generating much of anything yet, so we don't have any money there to pay for it. The idea here is that we would pay for our part of the agreement from city QCAP funds, with the RDC giving the intent to reimburse those funds from the Worstville Road TIF as it starts to generate, now that we have Amazon over there, Pitney Bowes, and all of these new companies coming in, and as those payments start ticking down, we'll start seeing income from those coming in to the Worstville Road TIF, and so then it can serve that purpose to help us promote that park and get it rolling.
Questions for Mr. Wright? Mr. Tyler?
I'm sorry, I don't see anything in the resolution that has amounts. Is there any idea what we're talking about? And before these are reimbursed, will this come back to the RDC or?
The fourth whereas paragraph.
Sorry, the fourth one?
956, 108.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
totals.
All right.
Part of it's the church and part of it's the school. The road that is being paid for by the school that we're paying part of, our portion is basically the difference between what it would have been had it stayed a private road, and then bringing it up to city standards, at which point they will dedicate that road to the city, so it will become a city road. So that's the part that would be going to the school district, is the difference between being a private road and a city road, and we get a road out of it. And then the church, we would be assisting with the cost of the access road they're putting in on the east end, and they call it a spur road, but it kind of connects to the school property as well. So then what we get out of that is use of their parking lot, and then they maintain that private access road on the east, but we're able to utilize it for traffic for the park as well.
And then amount we talked to is an up to, not to exceed.
That's the maximum,
Okay.
and that's based on numbers from the school and the church and their engineering.
Further questions? Accept the resolution, motion to approve resolution 2019-19.
Are you making a motion?
David just made
I'll
that
second.
motion. I said I would accept it.
Okay. A second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Greg. Next we have Neovia's annual report and request for waiver of late filing. Mr. Watson, are you going to address this?
Yes. Back in 2010, the Redevelopment Commission entered into an economic development project agreement with Neovia Logistics Services, and under that agreement, they were to provide an annual compliance report, which they have done. They were a couple weeks late in filing that, and that's why there is the request for a waiver on the late filing. I have provided you with a evaluation report in general. They appear under the annual report information to have complied with all their requirements to date, and so therefore I think it would be appropriate to commend them on their performance and then to make a determination as to the waiver request.
First of all, is there a motion to grant the waiver request?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Further discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank
Who will be reporting this back to them? Mr. Watson, or you? Well, then I would ask Mr. Watson to convey to them the commission's appreciation for their efforts and their apparent exceeding of their requirements under the old plan. So we think that they've been a good participant in this, and hope they understand that we appreciate their efforts.
Okay, thank you, I will do that.
Thank you. Under old business, Mr. Hodgson's going to address Cummins Inc. project.
I'm pleased to announce that we closed on the transfer of the 31 acres to Cummins. I believe it was a week ago Tuesday. In connection with that closing, we were required to execute several documents that were consistent with the project agreement that you've already approved. I'm here to solicit a resolution to ratify the signature of those closing documents.
And I think Mr. Harrison and I have executed on behalf of the commission all of those closing documents previously, so I would ask the commission for a motion to ratify those closing documents that's already executed.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Next on capital project report, County Line Road I-65 Development Project, Mr. Steinmetz. Good evening.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Yes, so the first is ratification of a contract with Mr. Brian Newsom, who's done work for the Parks Department before. He went out and after the commission closed on the property that we were just mentioning, it needed to be brought into compliance with the city's maximum grass and vegetation height ordinance. We don't have a farm-sized bush hog on the staff, and so he went out and took care of that property and got it back to a state that substantially complies with what we're trying to do as a city overall as far as property maintenance. So it's $5,000 to bush hog that 55 acres.
And that's a one-time.
It's a one-time deal.
Well, I'll move that we ratify the services contract with Mr. Newsom in the city.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll stay up here for the Strand Engineering PSA.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that particular document. It was simply the Alta survey wasn't outlined in its original scope of services, correct?
Correct.
That was submitted to the RDC that they approved.
$5,500.
Yeah, and so they then had to create that higher level of survey for that parcel for the closing. And that is what they did.
Questions for Kevin? Seeing none, what's your pleasure with respect to the second amendment?
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
But the only discussion I would say is it says there's an exhibit A attached, but I don't see it attached. Is it in here somewhere?
It's the exhibit A was the original agreement. I'll get it attached and on the record after the meeting. Apologies.
Okay, thank you. So if we
Aye.
He'll walk over you. Next, we're going to go to the Presidential Block Main Street. Consideration of professional service agreement with Aegis.
Yeah, so, this is for a, sorry, just a second, I'll go to the next contract here. Because it's still in it. So this is at, obviously Maine, the north side between Washington and McKinley. We closed on those properties. We need to do a limited phase 2 for some soil investigation for $3,500 with Aegis, who does a lot of work for the city. Both this commission and in general recommended we move forward with that payable from the central tip.
Further questions? Pleasure of the commission.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And demolition services.
And actually asked to move that to a December meeting. We weren't able to get full responses. I think everybody was busy and then shocked by this weather coming, so we don't have the full quotes in from all the companies, so I asked to just move that
Okay.
December, please.
Move on to the Serena Way extension issue.
Yeah, so we finally, project's been done, we finally got the quantity reconciliation that you've seen in a lot of these projects. I included on there the 20 or 30 items that came in under for our construction inspection permit crossroads on this. And then the 20 or 30 items that came over netted out to a increase of $76,823.30. Brought the contract up to 3,593,592.48, which when you consider we started at basically 3.34 million with all the work that was done there from pretty much the edge of Craig Park over to Madison Avenue, dealing with a lot of stuff that hadn't been touched either ever or for quite a long time. We were able to do it from a percent-wise really efficiently and well under the amount of money we actually budgeted. I think we had like somewhere between a 7.5% and 10% contingency on that. So this will allow us to do the final payout and put that project to bed.
And it's fine, we're done.
Yeah, everything's
This will
done.
conclude.
People have been driving on it. This is the final, as you can see. This term of art would be bid quantity to actual verified quantity reconciliation.
Is there a motion for approval of change order number 6?
I'll make that motion so long as we also approve the coffee stained document that goes with it.
I was wondering,
That's how it came in.
So motion.
second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I guess I should have whited that out next time.
Might have been a hard thing to do there.
You need a lot of white out.
Kevin, anything else from you?
Yeah, I had a request to walk on amendment to a contract from something that the legal department caught a couple of months ago. Actually, earlier in the summer, we entered into a contract with Business Art Designs to produce a lot of the new branded and wayfinding signs, location signs across the city. That cost was split between this board and the Parks Department. The Parks Department added a few signs to it. They are going, as Amanda, I think, explained to you, to get that additional $3,000 out of the roughly $40,000 to fund it. So all we're asking you to do is to increase the contract, not increase any actual monetary contribution, right, Amanda?
Correct.
So just because you were the contracting body, we split it with Parks. They added a few other signs, which you guys have probably seen. They're all installed now. So this contract went up with four board approvals, 2 from the RDC and 2 from Parks. So it's well paid. But this is what you got to do sometimes. So.
Well, I'll move that we accept that contract increase.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes.
And then that is all I have today. So
Thank you, Kevin.
have a good evening. Stay warm.
Thank you.
Mr. Hudson. Official good evening to you.
My first item is ratification of the settlement agreement on Worsville Road Parcel 14. This is with one of the mobile home parks. It is a settlement agreement that's already been approved, we've already approved, and it is for $20,000 more than the court-appointed appraisers, and we deem that to be less than the cost of doing a jury trial.
this is for a settlement amount of $171,256. Is there a motion to ratify that mediated settlement?
So moved. I'll second.
Further discussion? Questions from Mr. Hodgson? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up is ratification of engagement letter with Kroger Brothers and Regis. We ran into a problem in closing the Cummins transaction, being a wetland issue that was raised by the environmental engineers. TAP was conflicted from working that problem in order to resolve it in time for the closing. It was not possible to first we go before this board. We hired Greg Foros of the firm of Kroger Brothers and Regis, and we asked you to ratify that engagement letter.
I would move for ratification of that engagement letter.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up is a walk-on request. This involves 523 South Madison Avenue, which is commonly known as the middle school property. We have prepared a request for information that we'd like to be presented by the GCDC. This request for information is not requesting firm plans. It is to allow us to evaluate the ideas of developers and choose the developer that we'd like to move forward with on this project. In order to complete the project, it will be necessary, or to complete the transfer, it will be necessary to transfer the property to the GCDC. The reason for that is state law has some limitations on the commission conveying property that may lead to some bad results, limiting our ability to transfer the property to the developer with the best idea. We may be forced to transfer to a developer who is willing to pay us more money but has something truly awful we wouldn't want there. So I'm asking that you pass a resolution tonight that would, one, authorize the conveyance of the real property commonly known as 523 Madison Avenue to the GCDC for disposition after the RFI process is completed. And two, that the property would be conveyed only after the GCDC issues a request for information, and that the developer selected by the GCDC is acceptable with the RDC. We would expect that the committee which evaluates the proposals would be filled with RDC members.
This is something that Mr. Hodgson has been working on to assist in making this transition much more smooth and beneficial to the city. So I would move that we approve the process that Sam has just outlined. And is that sufficient for what you need a resolution to do that? Would there be a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Mr. Watson, anything from your office?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Wright, anything else?
Nothing.
Thank you. Daniel?
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Little brief here. So an update on the Worsville Road Section 3 project regarding the relocation costs. We've got a couple that have trickled in. It's only an additional $150 since the prior RDC meeting. So there you can see the cumulative amount that we have so far. Just shy of 466, just shy of $466,100,000. Any questions on that?
Do I owe you anything?
No, actually, these came in, I believe it was last week or the tail end of the week prior, right? So I need to get them to you for your review. And a side note on this project, the letting is Thursday. That's all I have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Daniel. Mr. Stone couldn't be here. Was there something that we needed to address, Amanda?
Just the additional appropriation.
Okay,
is
we
what
can
he was
already take
concerned
care of
with.
it. Okay. Mr. Mayor, anything from your office? Thank you. Claims docket for this month is a total of $2,734,442. Is there a motion to approve the claims? Second?
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Amanda, have you, 2020 meeting dates? We're gonna stick with the, do you have a specific list, or is it just the second Tuesday of every month?
So now,
If you did, I didn't.
it's still the same as saying the second Tuesday of the month. at
Is the,
4:30.
does that conflict with, election dates?
Oddly, it does not.
Okay, good, okay. Motion to approve the, 2020 meeting dates being the second Tuesday of the month at 4:30 p.m.
I'll second.
Further discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll stand adjourned, thank you all, at 5:19 p.m.